Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. From time to time, we talk about things here on this program that you don't really hear elsewhere, but it's things that you need to know to navigate life. Life is full of changes. Things come up. There are things that sometimes you don't want to talk about. One of those things is death, the passing of someone or yourself, being prepared for that. We're going to dig into one aspect of that, essentially letting people know that there's been a passing, the evolution and writing of the obituary. And we're getting some help with that from a true professional. She and her family own 2 funeral homes in New Jersey, Oliverie Funeral Home. Geri Oliverie joins us today, and this is Deceased and Assist. That's what we're going to work on today. Geri, welcome. How you doing today?
Good. How are you doing? Glad to be here.
Oh, good to have you back. And never even thought about writing the obituary. I don't know if that's done by individuals or if funeral homes take care of it, but it's something that goes back a long time, right?
First obituaries were written way back in ancient Rome on what everybody knows, papyrus, newspapers, and paper. That was around 59 BC. They were called acta diurna, daily events. And the word obituary comes from the Latin word obitus, which means death. So, and then lots of obituaries were written in the 1600s, but in the 1800s, death notices became more common. And it was usually something that was saved for the rich, the people in Senate, the people who were important in the day, not for commoners, right? But then in the 1600s and 1800s, it became more common. And then obituaries gained popularity in the 19th century. And this was a huge shift away from longer stories reserved for well-known figures and politicians only. So now everyone can have their story told. Right?
And I'm glad you're using the word story because some people just view it as a death notice to let you know that somebody has passed. But many obituaries are the story of their life, who they're survived by, what they were, involved in. So there's a lot going on there with obituaries.
Yeah, so obituaries and death notices, people interchange those words, but they're completely different.
Oh.
The death notice is a very short version to get information out, and it only states that basic information, such as name, date of death, age, visitation, service times, where the death occurred, and, the final disposition and who the survivors are. And that's because when you're into a paid paper, people are trying to keep the cost down. So the death notice is sometimes free. So the paper decides what they'll allow to go in there. Whereas an obituary is going to include all that and then some, right? It's going to have name, date, age, where they were born, where they died, if they served in a branch of service, how long, any kind of important battles they may have been in, if they went to college, what college degrees, jobs, a little history on more than one job, what they did, how long, when they retired, personal interest stuff like who's, an Elvis impersonator or something like that, or favorite songs. And then, of course, survivors, in lieu of flowers, the visitation times and place, the service times and place, and then final disposition. Kind of in that order, too. But then it's being paid for because that part's not free. And at one time it was, but it's not anymore. So that's why a death notice and an obituary are completely different and shouldn't be interchanged, especially with a funeral director who might not explain the difference and all of a sudden it's not the obituary you want, right? And obituaries in newspapers aren't even required, where at one time they were, because it would be against your estate, any debt, so it needed to be published. But that's not even the case anymore. And so people are even opting not to do it in the newspaper but use it for social media purposes. I hope
What's
that helped a little.
what's a eulogy?
So eulogies are a little different because they'll include funny stories. And of course, you have to remember sometimes there's more than one eulogy because eulogies are someone's point of view and it can be biased. So it's your loved one and you have a right to eulogize, but it's going to be based on how you know that person. Is this my parent, or do I know this person from work, or do I know this person because we went to school together and I know them through their whole life, before marriage, after children, right? After retirement. So my perspective on my eulogy would be completely different, and so will my stories, because anyone who has children knows when you get together with your friends and your children hear stories, right? Way back, I know your parents, blah, blah, blah. They go, really? I didn't know my dad had a sense of humor, because you show different sides of yourself to different people, right? So that's what a eulogy is.
Okay. Wow. I'm glad we're talking about that. It's coming much clearer. And it was a thing in the newspaper to see, all of this, not so much anymore. It seems like if you want to read when the service is going to be or just a tribute to somebody, a lot of times it's on the funeral home's website, right?
Right. Because that's the trend, because the website is there forever, whereas a newspaper you pay and it's in one day, right? Which, of course, the funeral director will guide you and say the most read editions, of course, are Sunday's paper and Wednesday's paper, because it's not only a catch-up day, but it also has coupons in for those people who still get subscriptions. That's where all your advertisements and coupons are. So if you're going to pay for an obituary, put it in one of those days. But most people don't even want to pay anymore. Most people, even my 90-year-old mother, didn't have the newspaper subscription anymore, right? So people are getting their information from social media and from the funeral home website. So if you Google somebody's name and the funeral home has a website, it's going to find them on that website. All you need is a name, approximate time they died, and if you don't know the town, but you know it's New Jersey, you will find that person's obituary, right? So that's the reason more people are switching to that. The fact that you can see it at any time and go back and visit it, because it can be tweaked. So you put it on the funeral home website, and say the family spelled something wrong or accidentally left, a name out or something like that. They call the funeral home and the funeral home goes, oh, no problem. We'll just go in and change it right now. Just stay on the phone. Let's just make sure it's the way you want it. All right, refresh your browser. Is there anything else you want us to change? Mind you, this is after you have already written it and given it to them to review and revise and then place it on our obituary. It doesn't show up there without permission from the families and their approval, but it can be revised over and over, right? Because I remember when obituaries were free in newspapers, we would call in the basics and phonetically spell everything out, right? You give just facts. And then the newspaper would write it and decide on the final version. So family lost control of that. But then as time progressed, we went to fax machines, which meant, we got a proof, because, a fax they can't copy and paste. They would have to type it, send us a proof, and then we would approve it. And then we went to emails, same thing. They would copy and paste though, but we still had to approve it. And now you have to go to these portals that funeral homes have to be registered with, so that we are funeral homes and we're not putting in fake information or a fake death or a prank or anything like that. But the plus to it is we have longer time periods to get it in, and we also can add a picture and we know the cost immediately. We don't have to wait to get billed to tell the family what their obituary costs. We know the cost and we can tell them. And then, do you want to tweak it to bring the price down? Or are you okay with it and it's good to go? So there's a lot of good things with the portals that I like. I think families do too, because once it's in online on legacy.com within an hour. So even though it's going to print, it's on our website, it's on legacy.com, which a lot of people know, and it's international just like ours. But then it's there. The only downside to that is getting it corrected. If it's wrong, getting it corrected, no, you can't get it corrected. It's over,
Wow.
and you paid for it.
Geri, I wasn't aware that you could put it on a website like legacy.com. I thought it would just remain on the funeral home's website. So that's another place to.
Right. So legacy.com will scrape funeral homes' websites to get the obituary there. But once they scrape it, it's the version that was up there. So if you 2 days later change it and they've already scraped it, getting it corrected is near impossible. I won't say impossible because we've done it, but it's a feat to get it done. It's hard. Yeah.
So to get it to reside on legacy.com, are you paying for that? I mean, is the family paying for that?
If you put it in a newspaper and they get it from the newspaper version, you're paying for it. If they scrape it, it's free, but you have no control over it now. It's theirs. You put it out there, it's public information, so they scraped it. So now you lost control on their website.
Gotcha. And then if you just wanted to submit directly to Legacy, you would have to pay for that or no?
You have to pay for it in a newspaper.
In the newspaper. Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any benefit to that, or just having it on the funeral home website?
The funeral home website is better for another reason. Besides being able to tweak it, we're not going to contact you 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever, and say, don't you want to buy memorabilia? Don't you want to remember your loved one with this? Like, they're going to now solicit and try to sell to you. And they will do it for up to a year because now you have an anniversary coming up. And again, they're going to try and get you to publish something, publish an anniversary notice or whatever. So that's the downside to them getting involved in your obituary. We're not going to do that. Right? We're not going to contact you and say, hey, it's the anniversary of death. Don't you want to republish this or publish it differently or say something and put it on your social media? We're not going to do that. We think you've had enough grief. We're just going to send you a text or an email that says, we're remembering you on the anniversary of the death of your loved one. Just reaching out to let you know we're here if you need us.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
We're not selling something. Nor is it on our page, like click here or anything like that. There's not going to be anything. It's just a sincere note is what it is.
I would imagine that even if you did a search and you put in a loved one's name years later, for most times it's going to come up. If it's on the funeral home website. So if you want
it will come up.
Yeah,
yep.
Exactly.
It will come up because it's forever up there.
And is there an additional charge for that? Let's say you do a funeral for somebody. Is that included in the fee and writing it as well? Because the rest of us don't really write obituaries.
So what we do is we have a one-time fee. It's $125 as opposed to a newspaper, which is $400. And it's only in once. We're $125 and it's up perpetual. But we ask so many detailed questions so that we can write it, put it in the right order, send you a proof. You can change it any way you want. And then when you send it back to us, we'll copy and paste it so we don't make any mistakes, and we will place it on our website. And once it's up there, it's up there. So anybody can search it. Even the video, like we do videos for people, we put it right under the obituary. Your video is up there forever. So people are like, can we have a USB? Can we have a DVD? I'm like, that stuff comes and goes. Your DVDs, you can't even play them anymore. Go to the website, go to the obituary. The video is there. You can play it as many times as you want.
Nice.
It's free. You don't have to download it. You don't have to pay to watch it. It's all right there. Right?
So I'm going to make you think for a second, Geri. What is the most unusual obituary that you had to prepare for somebody, a client or family, whether it was unique in what they, the wording, anything stand out for you?
So I've had two situations, like the shortest and the longest. Like the shortest was like, I changed the name, but Doug died. I'm like, that's all you want? Just Doug died. And they're like, yes, everybody knows who Doug is. I'm like, okay. So we put Doug died, and that was it. And there was a lot of hits on it, and she was absolutely right. Word of mouth got around, and I had a lot of views on that obituary, and it was enough. Because the rest of the information was on the website anyway, so where he was going to be viewed and laid out and all that, it was there, so it didn't have to be in the obituary. And then I've had people go on and on and on, where they make the mistake that they, like I said, they make it more of a eulogy, which is incorrect. But it was like $2,000. It was many, many years ago. It would be like $5,000 today, but it was a waste of money, because as much as it was a tribute to your loved one and it looked good and you saved it, you could do it on my website and do the same thing, copy and paste. It ended up being something somebody just skims. They skim it for the information they want. Where do I have to be? What day do I have to be there? What time do I have to be there? And that's it. They don't want, we have trained people to skim. People don't read things in length anymore. So it was kind of like a waste of money, right?
What do you want people to know, as we get to the end here today, about obituaries? Anything that stands out for you?
I want people to understand and know obituaries are not everyone's to write. So if you are on social media and you are writing what you think is a nice tribute to someone you know, is it yours to write? No, it's not. It belongs to the immediate family in the right order of who's in charge, right? Because that information is getting out there, and it could be wrong, it could be misleading, and it could be something the family doesn't want. Did you ever consider that you had no permission to print it or put it out there? So you need to know common etiquette about obituaries and not write what you want. I mean, we've had a family just a couple of weeks ago lost someone very young. There was a GoFundMe page. Somebody started a fake one.
Oh, boy.
All this information was out there. People were donating to the wrong GoFundMe page, which would mean the family would never, ever get that money, right? So you have to be careful when you're in social media, where you are, what links you're going to, and do you have the right to, I mean, sometimes people haven't told immediate family yet.
Wow.
And you're putting it out there. That's not right. Some people want to tell them in person. Some people, they're like, they have college, tests this week. We're doing it afterwards. We're waiting. So we're not going to tell them until they get home, right? I mean, you have to consider all of this. What is yours to tell? What story is yours?
Wow. A lot of these things, many of us don't consider. And then now you're bringing up another thought or concern in my mind that somebody could put, along the GoFundMe territory, list a charity. Aunt May loved dogs and, would love if you could donate to this charity, and they just click that.
And it may not even be real.
That's
it could
right.
be going directly to their account.
Exactly. Wow. What about AI being so popular now? A lot of people use it to write things. Good idea, bad idea to write an obituary?
I don't like AI for obituaries because they tend to sound canned and use words you would not normally use in an obituary. But it's great to help you with a eulogy, not an obituary. An obituary needs to have more facts than prose.
Got it. Wow. You must have written so many, or your team, so many obituaries over the years. My gosh.
Yeah, I write 1 or 2 a day. I'm so fast at it now. I wish my typing could keep up with my brain, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. You have 2 locations in New Jersey. What are they?
So one is in Manchester in Ocean County, New Jersey. They're both in Ocean County. The other one is in Jackson. The one in Jackson not only has a regular funeral home, but it also has a cafe and a restaurant all in the same building. So it's kind of neat. It offers a little bit more.
And just to bring up that point we mentioned once before, but you're mentioning it with that location, that you can have food at the service. That is now allowed in many states, right?
Yes. So New Jersey was the last to do it, one of the last to holdouts. And, we helped push it with other directors to get it to where it is. And then I opened and built this. And now it's up to the individual funeral homes if they can bring food and drink in, because most funeral homes have a room and they sell it to you. So it could be $150 and they're going to offer coffee, snacks, fruit, water, stuff like that. So can you bring it in? Not necessarily. Can it be served? Yes. That's the difference.
Many times you're leaving between services to go to a restaurant. Then you have to coordinate. All right, well, meet us back here at this time. And it just gets all confusing where you could spend more time with the family in that setting where it's all taken care of. I think it's wonderful. It's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Geri, great talking with you today on Deceased and Assist. And thank you for all the details on something, many of us don't even consider. It's got to be done, especially at the very least on the website of the of the funeral home. And I appreciate it. What's your website there for your homes?
So it's OliverieFuneralHome.com, and you can see pictures and video and, the 360 view for both funeral homes on that website.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back.
In 2 weeks.
You got it. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.